This is the part of the Shield tutorial where we're actually going to bring it into Substance Painter. So Substance is open. I'm going to do File, New. I have my presets to go to Unreal Engine 4. For File, I'm going to click Select. I'm going to navigate to that path and I'm going to select my low poly. And there we go. This is what you should see. You should have nice UVs over here on the side. You should have your one simple mesh. Now your mesh may be slightly different. You may not have the little nub in the middle. That's fine. If you import your high poly, let's take a look what that looks like just as an example. I'm going to click on my high poly and say open and then say okay. I'm going to discard anything I had here. And now it's having a hard time. It had to auto UV unwrap. And now you see all of this high poly detail. Look at this. It's just one giant UV chunk in the middle. What you're actually seeing is all the stacked UV layers on top of themselves. If I was to come in here and say window, I want to see the views. I'm looking for texture set list. There we go. You can see that this model actually has 4 different material sets on it. All right, this is all the different things. And basically what you're seeing here is all of the different parts that we went through and set as IDs on our model are showing up here. So this would bake out 4 sets of textures. The problem is none of this has proper UVs. Like this is a bad UV layout. This is a bad UV layout. This is just a mess, and so is this. And so that's why we don't bring on our high poly. Our high poly is not for texturing. Our high poly is for getting this surface detail that you see onto our low poly. So let's do File, New, and we'll go back and let's load in our LP, our low poly mesh, because that's the version we're going to see in game. Click Discard. There we go. So here's my low poly shield. Here's its nice clean UVs. Let's go, and I can close texture set list because I don't need that because this only has one material. And now if I go to texture set settings, it's defaulting to that nice large 2048. I'm going to come down to bake mesh maps, and I'm going to increase my output size to 2048. And now under high poly parameters, I'm going to go to high poly mesh, high definition meshes, click on the little page, and I'm going to select my HP, my high poly for it to reference. There we go. So if I go and I bake out my textures, right, just with those default settings, what you're going to see is you're going to see errors happening. And I know it's going to have errors because I've done the demo before, but even more than that, anywhere you get these little red areas, it means that your high poly is extending outside the bake range. So if I come and I go to return to paint mode, I have all these little dark spots. And that's because it's rendering what it sees inside, right? And because there's meshes out there, the ambient occlusion is making it dark in there. So let's talk about how to fix that. Let's go back to Bake Mesh Maps. When you are in this high poly parameters section, you can increase what's called your max frontal distance. That's how far out it goes. And so it's a little slider. You could drag it. You could see as I drag it, it starts to push it out. And now we don't have any of those red spots. And so if I bake the textures now, we get a nice clean bake. For a second, a flash, you see the old bad one that wasn't working well, but now when it's done, when we return to painting, there you go. Nice clean bake. So all that detail that we had before on our model, it's all here inside our mesh maps. So if we hold shift and drag our right mouse button, we can see how the light plays across it and how beautiful that is. In addition, we now have what's called the ID mask, and we can use that to mask out areas. So let's go to layers, and we could certainly just work with any of the defaults here, right? Like I could drop gold on it, right? And then I could put let's put some plastic on it. And if I right click and say add mask with color selection, I could pick a color and I could have gold with this plastic trim around it. And I could keep layering other textures on top as I wanted. You know, if there's anything I want to put in here, like let's put some human skin on it. Add mask with color selection, pick a color, There we go. Yeah, and you could always go in and tune it. Like I think we need to tile our human skin a bit more. Where's the tiling option? Go to the material. There we go. That's what I wanted. So probably tile that more, right? Of course, this looks really stupid, so we don't want to do this. You could certainly use any of the materials in here. The idea is for your final project, you will utilize this inside there. So what we're going to do is go to Smart Materials, and your Unreal should come with some smart materials. You may have to go out and download some from online, right? I've shown you in class where you could get those from. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to one of my favorites, which is this brass old. Put that on there. It has a very nice worn look on it. If I hold shift and drag, there it is. And then I could go in and mix it up and get some additional ones happening, right? Like if I want to come in here, let's put some copper on there. And I'm going to right click and add mask with color selection. And I'm going to pick this kind of golden area, right? That's not what I want. I'm going to pick the blue area. So that's kind of neat. And then I could, because I have multiple colors, I could have more than one type on here. If I want to put a little bit of gold, I could mask with color selection, pick color. There we go. So now I have my shield. If I hold shift and drag, you can see how the light plays across it. But that's effectively the process. You just go in and put the materials you want on it. Um, Ideally, it's something that looks, maybe you want to do something weird and alien at some point. Probably not for your final project since we're trying to replicate the real world. But at this point, you would just do File, Export Textures, and you would navigate back to that same shield location, export out as those Unreal 4, and then we come over here to our shield project. You see, because I'd already done this demo previously for another class, I have another set of textures in here. So I would just come in here and just rename. I'm just going to add a 2 in there. So it's BN Shield 2 base colors. Now I have like a nice variant alternative set. I can rename my pack texture. And just update those. And if you're not sure what you should be naming these, just double check the assignment. The assignment has example images for how you should be matching the names on them. But that's really it. That's all there is to the Substance Painter portion. Of course, you could save this in case you want to do it another one later. But that's it. Good luck with your assignments.